Welcome. Today we are going to make our properties foldable. And we're going to start with our piece of paper like this and turn it this direction, not this direction. So it's going to be facing that direction so that when we're done it's going to fit into our journal and look like this. Properties of addition on the front and properties of multiplication on the back. So I'm going to fold myself a little tab right here, very small one. And if you want to, you can write glue on there so we know that's just the boundary, so you're not going to write on that part right there. And then across the top, this is going to be our properties of addition. And this is going to be in fourths on the front for the property of addition. So if you want to, give yourself some boundaries there so you know where you need to keep your writing in. You can fold it like that just to give yourself some boundaries. So the first property that we're going to be looking at for the properties of addition will be commutative. We spell that C-O-M-M-U-T-A-T-I-V-E. Commutative. So this is the property that says numbers can be added in any order and you still have the same sum, which is the answer to an addition problem. So what that looks like with numbers is 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2, because when you add 2 and 3 you get 5, and when you add 3 and 2 you still get 5. So the way that I remember this is that the numbers commute is the root word there, which means to travel. So if you want to look at it that way, the numbers are traveling here. 2 went there, 3 traveled there, different spots. Now what that would look like using variables would be A plus B is the same thing as B plus A. Whatever number A is, if we add B to that, we'll still get the same result if we take that same number B and add A. Next, we're going to look at associative property. And this is the numbers that are inside the parentheses change. But the sum is the same, and this is important, the order is the same. So if we had the numbers 3 plus 4 in parentheses in 5, I'm going to put 3 plus 4 plus 5. Those numbers are in the same order. However, I'm going to change which ones are in the parentheses. I'm going to put 3 and 4 in parentheses here. Now, following the order of operations, I would say on this side 3 plus 9 here, because parentheses comes before just plain addition, and I would get 12 there. On this side, I would say these two are in parentheses, so I would put 7 there, plus the 5 that's outside the parentheses, and I get 12. So we're fair and balanced. Now, the way that I remember this is I think about middle school girls. And middle school girls are kind of famous for this. So these, if we pretended that these numbers were young ladies, these two young ladies, the 4 and the 5, they're friends. They're besties. Because they're in the same friendship. They're in the same group together. So I'm going to give this one red hair. I'm going to give this one, number 4, brown hair. And I'm going to give this one some blonde hair, the sad girl, the sad sack. Alright. Okay, now, middle school girls, being who they are, 4 and 5, the brunette and the redhead, get in a fight over something ridiculous. And they decide that they're no longer going to be friends. They're not going to be besties anymore. Now notice what happens here. Blondie is in the same position. The brunette is in the same position. And the redhead is still in the same position as far as first, second, and last. But what's changed here is who the friends are. The blonde and the brunette are now friends. And this poor little redheaded little girl is out here on her own. So I like to think of middle school girls when I think of the associative property, because I see this so frequently. So the root word here is associate. With whom do you associate? Your friends? And your friends change. You change who your friends are sometimes. Who is in that group of friends? That occasionally changes. So if we were using variables, what that would look like would be a plus b and c in the parentheses, then a plus b in parentheses plus the c. It could look like that. It could also look like this. It could go that direction. Next one we have is the identity property. So if you add, and the one number that's important here is 0 to any number, the result is the same number. So what that looks like is if I start with 6 and I add 0, it still has the same identity. Okay? And this 0 is called the identity element for addition. And your identity that's your name. That's who you are. And we're not changing who the number is. It's still that same number. So any number, if we add 0 to it, we're still going to get that same number. That's the identity property of addition. Alright, last one that we have for addition is the inverse property. This is when a number and its inverse, it may also be called its opposite, are added together. The result is 0. So if I have 5, its opposite is negative 5, the result will be 0. So we call this the additive inverse. Sometimes we call it opposites. Sometimes we call them 0 pairs. So it could look like A plus the opposite of A. That's how we would read that. That would be 0. Or it could say the opposite of this A plus this A is equal to 0. And that's all we have for the addition properties. Stay tuned for the properties of multiplication. Thanks for listening.